You all remember the beginning of the week, we started with Jojo Kwabna's concern and piece, as well as feature and expose about how young ladies who migrate to the southern part of the country, especially staying in Accra, and talking about a subject, Rashida, who would want to relocate to her community, but would need some assistance. She would want to be a fashion designer, and so would need some assistance in training, getting access to some sewing accessories and machines, etc. But let's bring you the story, do a recap, and then we'll have the minister for the sector in the studio. Do stay on.
This is Old Fadama, now popularly called Sodom and Gomorrah. It is arguably Ghana's biggest slum. Squeezed at the edge of the Korle Lagoon, it is now on the verge of explosion. The 80,000 population is gradually threatening the existence of the Korle Lagoon. Old Fadama presents you with snapshots of portraits of urban poverty in Accra. In here are many people who have abandoned their villages and towns with dreams of making it big in life. Unfortunately, many only succeed in merely eking out a living. In the heart of the community is Rashida, a head porter from Savlugu in the northern region of Ghana. Unlike many other head porters, she successfully graduated from high school. She nurtured false dreams that the only way she can make it is in Accra. She then arrived in Accra in December 2017, but now regrets her decision.
Some people came here, came back to Savannah to say that if you come to Accra, a lot of things are here. You will get money and enjoy the life too. Unless you go and see how life is sweet in Accra. So, and I say, oh, I'll also come and see how life is. So as far as I'm here, the life is not easy for me.
Paying for accommodation, paying to use bathrooms and toilets is rather strange to her.
We don't have windows. That's the reason why we are not feeling happy to sleep. When you are to bath, you pay.
How much?
50 pesos a bucket. But the hot water is 70 pesos. The cool one is 50 pesos. And the 1 city, they will give you toilet roll. 80 pesos toilet roll, but the 70 and 50 paper.
So which one do you like?
I don't have money, I use paper.
She tells me that about 20 of them sleep in a small room without a window.
The way we are sleeping in the north, we don't do that.
How do you sleep?
Can't you see this small room? We were more than 20. If you are going to sleep.
Well, so what overall is being done about the general migration of young ladies or young girls to the southern parts of the country? By way, as we all should know, it's only Accra that they come to. Sometimes they get to Kumasi, Sunyani, etc. And it's a long-standing issue. We've had various civil society organizations and the lead ministry undertake a lot of work. And now we have the minister, Madam Otiko Afisejaba, here with us. She is the minister for gender, children and social protection. And she has to go for a program though in the next 15 minutes, but let's quickly just do the snappy. Thanks for joining us and thanks for your patience also. But it's been a big issue, I'm sure, in your work, your development work. You've done a lot of work in this as well. How is the ministry, since you assume office, taking this seriously, and what are the remedies that we want to put in place for it?
Right. Thank you, and a good morning to your viewers, and a happy Valentine or Cocoa Day to all Ghanaians, especially the vulnerable, the weak, the marginalized, the poor, who need more love than the rest of able-bodied people. The kayayei is a very special aspect of my development as a person. especially because of their vulnerability. As a development worker, I encountered them in the Upper East, the Upper West, and the Northern region. That's where they largely come from. And that's partly because the prevalence of poverty comes largely from the Upper East, Upper West, and the Northern region. And then you get to Central region and the Volta. So most of them come over because of poverty, seeking greener pastures. I know that some of the young girls that I worked with in Tumu, during the holidays, they would have to come and do kayayei or go to Techima to farm or do other menial jobs to be able to get money to buy books or uniforms or support their education. As little girls as 8 years, they come over. And sometimes parents encourage them to come. Oh, so-and-so has gone, they brought this, so you to go and bring accounts who say Japade. But others too came because of the various ethnic wars in the north. Like there was a fight between the Konkombes and the Northerners, and then, well, not Northerners, and the Gonjes and the Dagombes, and then there were issues with in Bimbila and so on and so forth. So civil unrest and ethnic conflict also encourages that kind of migration. But broadly, migration is people moving from one area to the other. All of us have moved from somewhere to settle. But with the kayayei phenomena, the English word, the head portrait, is because of extreme poverty. Sometimes people just want to come see what's happening in Accra, in the cities. But the predominant reason is poverty. And so they come and they have nowhere to sleep. They sleep in front of people's shops. I did a documentary once. When you see them in the night lined up, it's terrible. Sometimes somebody's empty warehouse without windows, or in tiny places that are overcrowded, and others live off the street because they don't have enough money to pay for rent and all of that. So somebody will say, who asked them to come? It's perhaps the circumstances. If some of us travel outside Ghana, end up in difficulties crossing the desert of Libya or the seas and getting drowned, getting involved in human trafficking and modern day slavery. It's something like that that is occurring in Ghana with the head portrait and issues like that. And so the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection has embarked on a program called Operation Get Off the Street Now for a Better Life. That includes the kayayei, it includes hawkers, it includes persons with disability on the street, it includes children who are cleaning windscreens of cars or acting as contractors, pushing persons.
And when does this program start?
Oh, this program has been launched and we've begun the mapping. We're trying to find out. We've already done that. There are hotspots where they are located across the country. And then to do a database, have an engagement with them, look for alternatives for them. Because the person has come here with a problem. You can't just send them back. What is the solution? Under Hajia Alima, when it was the Ministry of Women and Children, she had a program where they gave them skills training, startups, sent them back. They came back. You know, and so we have to look at it holistically. One is those here. How do we ensure that their dignity and human rights are protected? Because as per our constitution, everybody has the right to live in dignity. And their circumstances are undignified. And so in the mapping that we're doing, we're trying to identify the little ones, even the babies, up to whatever age it is. Those of school-going age, we have to work with the Ministry of Education to find out how many can be taken into school come September, so that in the next 5 years, can we get them all off the streets and into school, those under 18. Those above 18 who can handle skills training, what kind of skills would they like to be trained in? I met some of them at Father Campbell's place at Christ the King. Others said they want to be trained in welding. Some said they wanted to go back to school. Others wanted to be drivers or to get into the police or to be teachers or hairdressers and what have you. And so the mapping will help us to profile them and then help to also have a psychologist to understand their psyche. Some of them run away from home because of child marriage or abuse at home and what have you.
Yeah.
So you need to understand. And how do we reintegrate them? Those who have families, those who are orphans, what do we do with them? We are identifying shelters so that the orphans who have nowhere to go, we can have a place for them. We are in engagement with the private sector to look at how we can get hostels. That's an MPP manifesto promise, to get hostels for the kayayei. It doesn't mean that we want to encourage them to remain in Accra. But whilst we grow the economy, organize the one district, one factory, the one village, one dam, to develop our rural areas, we will be working with them here, because if you send them back, what are they going to do there? If you learn how to do hairdressing and there's no light in the village, you might end up just running back. And so whilst they are here, we have to consider their health. So the ministry has health points at the markets where the kayayei can go and be screened. We are also ensuring that with the National Board of Small Scales and Industries, and then with other interventions, we can link them up. We have a kayayei module that we want to develop with the National Youth Authority to be able to train them in the various skills. We've just been in talks with a private sector woman who has 1,000 sewing machines, and so we can create about 2,000 opportunities, because it's not only the sewing, somebody will cut the thread, design, repair the machines, and all of that. So we have a very sustainable program of how to manage those here and those back home. We don't want them coming into Accra.
Yeah, precisely, because I wanted to ask you that.
Yes, and so the idea of free education from kindergarten FQ to the free SHS initiative is a brilliant opportunity for young girls, especially, who want to come to Accra.
Your ministry, how do you collaborate with, especially back home, where they're coming from, with the traditional authorities and the key stakeholders in there, who are the elders and key opinion leaders in their communities, perhaps to be the focal point around which they could have some dialogue and channel some of those programs through them?
Okay, thank you. We've held one national dialogue here in Accra last year with the various stakeholders on kayayei, and then we're going to have a series of dialogues at the district level and with the traditional rulers. A lot of what we do with the ministry is with partners and how we collaborate with them, because it's a collective responsibility development. And so we will be going to the various districts to have dialogues with the various stakeholders to ensure that we understand the numbers and why they would want to leave and why they should not leave, because the streets of the cities are dangerous and greener pastures are not easy to come by. You have nowhere to sleep, you have no money to pay for rent. How much are you given a day when you work as a kayayei? So it's better for you to stay at home. That is the message that we want to give, that there's no point in coming to the cities to do kayayei. Indeed, the Ministry of Gender has a program, a 5-year program, to eradicate kayayei, with especially the advent of free SHS, linking them up with skills training and so on and so forth. The one district, one factory, small cottage industries, entrepreneurship. You know, you start small. You can start making gari. Before you know it, you have a gari factory or groundnut paste or making beads or whatever it is that you want to do.
Just to create that empowerment.
Exactly. Because you see, Ghana cannot accelerate at the pace at which we want to accelerate unless we change the circumstances of the very vulnerable, the very poor. It's a point where we have reached that to build the new Ghana, each of us must be economically empowered. To be economically empowered, you need education, and then the planting for food and jobs, and then you move out of extreme poverty. We have the LEAP that supports
all these you have budgetary funding for it, or sometimes you have to bring in your donor partners, etc.?
Largely, we work with the donor partners. We also work with the local government, because all these different people live in the communities. And so we have a very close program with the DCEs, largely local government, and then the social welfare in terms of case management. There is never enough money. And that is why it's important that everybody's child of school-going age must be in school.
Yeah.
And we must understand that. It is not easy to get out of poverty, but we all came from poverty. So we need to be caring and tolerant of people who are not as able as others. And don't just say that, oh, they want and they came to Accra. But we all have migrated. Some are doing well, some are not doing so well. So those who are not doing so well, the Ministry of Gender is imploring the media and philanthropists and everybody else to have a collective responsibility. Today is Valentine's Day, so we must show some love to the vulnerable, and we must help them to get into school. And we must stop giving alms to beggars on the streets, because it's demand and supply. The more you give, the more you encourage them to remain on the streets. And when children get used to receiving monies, then they don't want to go to school.
So the key word is empowerment.
So the key word is empowerment.
Teach them how to fish.
And then love.
All right, and love.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
We've
had in the studio helping us have some great discussions. We know that, well, Jojo Kobna started this whole initiative, did a feature on Rashida, who wants to go up north because she had been down south, and sometimes the treatment that had been meted to her, she would want to be a fashion designer, she would need some help. We started the soliciting of help for her, and the pledges have been tremendous, but we know that overall it has to be factored into the scheme of things of the national program. And where else, or which better ministry than the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, for which we have the Minister, Madam Otiko Jaba, come here this morning. She has a meeting, so has to run out of the studio. But thanks for the good work you're doing so far. It's been tremendous. The accolades, I believe, even taking analysis of what the media has been saying about what people say means that you're doing good work. It takes time, but you get there.
It's a collective responsibility.
Yes. What are you doing for today? Today is Valentine's Day.
Today, I'm actually, in appreciation of Valentine's Day, inaugurating the Central Authority, the Board for Adoptions. We are inaugurating it because we have had a lot of issues with illegal adoptions, and there's been a gap between the Hague Convention and the laws of Ghana. So we have aligned we have domesticated the Hague Convention, and we have reviewed the Children's Act to amend it to include adoptions. And so the Central Authority Board for Adoptions is going to be inaugurated today. And that is a very important landmark and milestone for the development of children in Ghana, that we will have this body in place to support what we do to reduce the menace of unscrupulous people who want to sell our children or steal them from poor people and end up being in a mess. Poverty is no excuse for illegal adoption. It's also no excuse to get into crime. Poor people have dignity and integrity, and they have rights, and we need to support them, not take advantage of them. So I have a very full day today. We're meeting with the Net Rights. It's an association of NGOs with the president today. And it just keeps on because, you know, we build people. And there are emerging issues all the time, every day, defilement, older women who are seen as alleged witches, commercial sex workers, people with leprosy, people with autism, breast cancer, people on the streets. It's a non-stop thing, but there is hope that the new Ghana will leave none of them out. The idea is to provide a safety net for all our people. Ghana 60 years on.
Well, thank you very much. We hope that you enjoy your day. It's a full-packed day. Yeah. It means that you're running late into the evening. But we wish you well. And we've had in the studio Madam Otiko Jaba, the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, spending some time with us, helping us know the overall program of making sure that we stem the migration of young ladies from up north to down south, and giving us an insight into what the whole program is to make sure that they are well resettled and given some level of empowerment. Well, thanks again, once again. Thank you very much.